There are objects that you invite into your home, sometimes unknowingly, that carry an energy far heavier than their appearance suggests. And while you may believe they are harmless, they can act as open doors through which negativity, witchcraft, and destructive spirits freely walk in. Today, I will reveal to you one such item that many people keep without realizing the danger. If you truly wish to protect your peace, your energy, and your future, then listen closely and remove this object before it consumes more than you are willing to lose. Everything that surrounds you carries more than just its physical form. The chair you sit on, the painting on your wall, the ring on your hand, none of these are ever just objects. They are vessels of energy, silently holding and transferring impressions of the past. Some of these energies are uplifting, filling your home with harmony and clarity. Others are heavy, dragging you into a state of unease, anxiety, and misfortune. The danger lies in the fact that most people never pause to ask themselves what kind of energy they are living with every single day. They assume that objects are lifeless, but lifelessness is never true. Everything carries a vibration, and vibration always communicates something into your life. Consider this carefully. When you inherit something, when you buy it, or even when you pick it up as a gift, you are not only receiving the object, you are also receiving the emotional weight, the history, and the spiritual imprint attached to it. This is why you may sometimes enter a room and feel uncomfortable without knowing why, or why you may hold on to something and suddenly your mood changes. That shift is not your imagination. It is the silent transfer of energy through the things you allow to exist in your space. Now, imagine what happens when the energy embedded in an object is not neutral or positive, but dark and disruptive. These are the items that act like open doors, calling in forces that do not wish you well. They do not scream their presence. They do not announce themselves. They simply exist in your home quietly, and with time, they begin to shape the atmosphere around you. You may begin to notice arguments happening more often, opportunities slipping away, or a constant heaviness pressing on your mind. None of these are coincidences. They are the unseen consequences of living with objects that carry destructive vibrations. The problem is that most people hold on to these items without awareness. They may keep them out of sentiment, out of habit, or simply because they never considered the possibility that something so ordinary could have such extraordinary power. But this is the subtlety of spiritual reality. It hides itself in plain sight. That is why many suffer while never connecting the dots between what they keep close and what keeps happening in their lives. If you look around your home right now, and you are willing to see not just with your eyes, but with your inner perception, you will begin to notice certain things that do not belong. They do not make you feel light. They do not radiate peace. Instead, they weigh you down. And as long as they remain, your life will carry the imprint of their hidden energy. The truth is simple but profound. Nothing around you is ever just an object. It is either a door to growth or a doorway to destruction. There are certain objects that act like beacons, silently broadcasting a signal into the unseen world. They do not simply sit where you place them. They interact with the energies around you. And while most people never notice, these objects have the capacity to invite forces that you would never knowingly welcome into your home. This is why you must understand that what looks harmless to the eye may not be harmless to the spirit. The item I am speaking about has been used for generations in rituals of darkness. It carries with it a vibration that resonates with the frequency of witchcraft. When such an item is present, it does not matter whether you believe in its power or not. Belief is irrelevant, because energy does not wait for your permission to function. Just like electricity runs through wires whether you understand it or not, so too do these objects operate as conduits, pulling in the very forces that drain and disturb your life. What makes it more dangerous is that this particular object is often seen as decorative, cultural, or even symbolic of good fortune. People keep it with pride, never realizing that its deeper meaning attracts the opposite of what they hope for. This is the subtle trick of darkness. It disguises itself in beauty, in tradition, or in what appears to be harmless. And by the time you notice that things are going wrong, you are already living under its influence. When such an object is inside your home, it does not sit quietly. It interacts with the environment. It amplifies negativity. It stirs restlessness, and it creates an opening for energies that thrive on chaos. You may notice your sleep becoming disturbed, your thoughts constantly restless, or a persistent tension between you and those you love. These are not random events. They are signs that your space has become an environment where destructive forces feel at home. Witchcraft, at its core, feeds on symbols and objects. It requires physical vessels to anchor itself in the material world. And the item I am warning you about acts like a magnet. It does not repel this energy, it invites it. It is like hanging a sign outside your house that says, "Enter freely." The spirits and forces that come through such an open door are not here to help you. They are here to rob you of peace, of health, and of clarity. So while some people may dismiss the idea and say, "It is only an object," those who are sensitive to energy already know the truth. They feel the heaviness as soon as they step into a room with it. They notice how quickly the atmosphere shifts in its presence. And if you are honest with yourself, you too have felt moments where something inside told you, "This does not belong here." When an object has already attracted destructive forces into your space, you will not always see it immediately with your eyes, but you will begin to feel it. The first signs are often subtle, so subtle that most people dismiss them as coincidence or imagination. But there are no coincidences when it comes to energy. The very atmosphere of your home begins to change, and it whispers to you through small disturbances, hoping you will pay attention before the situation deepens. One of the first signs is the feeling of heaviness that does not leave you. You might walk into a room and suddenly feel tired, drained, or uneasy for no clear reason. It is as though the air itself is pressing down on you. That heaviness is not natural. It is a reflection of an energy that does not belong to you, clinging to your environment and slowly feeding off your vitality. Another sign is disturbance in your sleep. You may find yourself waking up at odd hours, restless and unable to settle into deep rest. Some nights you may even experience vivid, unsettling dreams that leave you anxious when you wake. When evil spirits find a way into your space, the night is often where they reveal themselves most clearly, because darkness provides the silence they thrive in. Conflicts in relationships are also strong indicators. You may notice arguments arising over small matters, misunderstandings happening again and again, or a coldness growing between people who once shared warmth. These are not always the result of human flaws alone. Negative energy looks for cracks where it can magnify tension, and once it finds an entry, it pushes people against each other until peace feels impossible. Then there are the patterns of repeated setbacks. You may try to move forward in your career, in your finances, or in personal goals, but every attempt seems to be blocked. Opportunities vanish at the last moment, plans fall apart without reason, and doors that should open remain tightly shut. These patterns are not accidents, they are manifestations of an environment being influenced by forces that do not wish you to rise. Even your health can begin to feel the impact. Constant fatigue, sudden headaches, or an unexplained lack of motivation are common when your energy is being drained by something you cannot see. It is not only your body that is being affected, it is your spirit. The longer the object remains, the more its vibration spreads through your life, touching every area with its heaviness. When you notice these signs, heaviness in the atmosphere, restless nights, constant conflicts, recurring setbacks, or unexplained fatigue, you are not imagining things. They are clear warnings that something has already entered through the doorway you left open. And if you ignore these signs, what is subtle today will soon grow into something undeniable tomorrow. When you choose to keep an object that attracts darkness, you are not just holding on to something physical. You are holding on to an invitation, a signal that tells negative forces they are welcome in your life. The price of this choice is far greater than most people imagine, because it does not only affect the space where the object sits. It spreads into your relationships, your health, your state of mind, and even your ability to attract blessings. It is like living with a wound that you refuse to close. Every day it bleeds, and every day it attracts what feeds on that weakness. You may notice it first in your emotional world. Instead of peace, you carry irritation. Instead of clarity, you feel confusion. Thoughts become clouded, decisions feel harder to make, and even the simplest moments of joy begin to feel distant. This is because the energy around you is no longer neutral. It is working against you. And when your mind is weakened, it becomes much easier for external forces to influence the direction of your life. It does not stop at the mind. Relationships also pay the price. A home that carries the vibration of witchcraft or destructive energy becomes an environment of tension. Small misunderstandings quickly explode into arguments, and love that once felt natural starts to feel strained. This is not because the bond between people suddenly disappeared, but because the atmosphere of the home is feeding division instead of unity. The object sitting quietly in the corner is not silent. It is amplifying negativity, breaking trust, and planting seeds of distance between hearts. On a deeper level, your financial and personal growth is affected. You may try to push forward with your plans, but obstacles appear again and again. It feels as though something invisible keeps pulling you back, no matter how hard you work. This is because the presence of such an object creates a constant leak in your energy field. Instead of attracting abundance, you attract resistance. Instead of walking into opportunities with confidence, you find yourself weighed down by invisible barriers. Even your physical health is not safe from its influence. Energy that is destructive does not limit itself to the spiritual. It begins to manifest in the body as fatigue, unexplained pains, or illnesses that seem to have no clear cause. The body mirrors the environment, and if your space is heavy with negativity, your health will eventually reflect it. This is the price of holding on to something that should have been removed long ago. The greatest danger is not the object itself, but the choice to tolerate its presence. Because the longer it remains, the more you normalize the suffering it brings. And when suffering becomes normal, you forget that peace, clarity, and abundance were ever possible. That is the true cost of keeping what was never meant to stay in your life. The moment you recognize that an object is working against your well-being, the most important step is to remove it. But removal is not simply about taking it outside and throwing it away. It is about breaking the connection it has formed with your life, because every moment it stayed with you, it left an imprint. If you only discard the object but fail to cleanse the energy it carried, you are like someone who closes a door but leaves the window wide open. The influence continues even if the source is no longer there. True release begins with intention. When you decide that you will no longer tolerate this presence in your space, your decision itself becomes a declaration. That decision shifts the energy, because it tells the unseen world that you are no longer in agreement with what was once allowed. With this clarity, the act of removing the object transforms from a simple action into a spiritual statement. Once the object is gone, the work of cleansing must follow. Every corner of your environment has absorbed fragments of its vibration, and those fragments must be cleared. There are many ways to cleanse it: through smoke, through sound, through prayer, or even through the power of spoken words. The method matters less than the sincerity of your intention. When you cleanse, you are not only purifying the air around you, but you are resetting the atmosphere to its original balance. But the cleansing does not stop at the external. Your own energy also requires renewal. For as long as that object remained with you, it likely fed on your strength, leaving you weakened or clouded. To restore yourself, you must allow space for silence, for meditation, for grounding practices that reconnect you to clarity. When your own vibration rises, you make it impossible for the remnants of negativity to cling to you. Some people remove an object yet still wonder why the heaviness continues. It is because they have not understood that removal is only half of the work. Cleansing is the other half. Without it, the traces remain, and the same patterns of negativity eventually return. Imagine pouring poison into a cup, then throwing the cup away but refusing to wash your hands. The residue stays, and so does the danger. That is why cleansing is essential. It ensures that no trace of the destructive energy lingers. When both steps are taken, removal and cleansing, you begin to notice the shift almost immediately. The air feels lighter, your sleep becomes calmer, your relationships soften, and opportunities that seemed locked away begin to reappear. It is not magic. It is the natural result of closing a door that should never have been opened and allowing your life to return to its rightful state of peace. When you remove what does not belong and cleanse the traces it left behind, you create an empty space. But an empty space is never truly empty for long. Energy will always fill it, whether positive or negative, depending on what you allow in next. This is why the process is not complete until you deliberately choose what to replace it with. If you do not, the void can attract the same kind of energy you worked so hard to clear away, and the cycle begins all over again. The most powerful way to protect yourself after removal is to invite energy that carries light, clarity, and protection. These can take many forms: symbols of faith, items of deep personal meaning, or simple objects that radiate harmony when you look at them. It is less about the object itself and more about the vibration it represents. When you choose something that lifts your spirit, you are strengthening the foundation of your environment. Think of your home like a garden. If you only pull out the weeds but never plant flowers, the soil will not stay empty for long. New weeds will grow. But if you fill that soil with seeds of beauty and growth, then the weeds have no space to return. In the same way, your environment must be intentionally filled with reminders of protection, gratitude, and abundance. These become shields against any future intrusion of negativity. Gratitude is especially powerful because it shifts your focus from what you fear to what you value. Placing an object that reminds you of gratitude, a journal, a picture, a simple candle you light each morning, creates an anchor of positive energy that expands through the room. Light attracts light, and when your environment is full of it, darkness finds no welcome. It is also important to surround yourself with practices, not just objects. Daily rituals of cleansing, short prayers, moments of reflection, or even the act of maintaining order and cleanliness in your space all serve as protective layers. When your home is tended with intention, it becomes difficult for destructive energy to take root. Protection is not a single act, it is a way of living. You may notice, after replacing the harmful with the meaningful, that your atmosphere begins to shift. The heaviness that once lingered is gone, replaced by calm. Rest comes more naturally at night, conversations feel lighter, and opportunities begin to align themselves in unexpected ways. This is not coincidence. It is the direct result of choosing what you allow into your life with awareness. When you fill the space with what uplifts you, you are not just protecting your home. You are protecting your mind, your relationships, and your future. And in that protection, you discover a truth that will guide you forever. What you choose to invite into your space determines the destiny you are creating every single day.